Welcome back to Reaching the Summit Women's Basketball Podcast. We're 1 week away from the conference tournament, and we have our second to last guest with us this evening, Coach Johnston of South Dakota State Women's Basketball. Coach, thanks for joining us again this season.
You bet. This will be fun.
I'm excited. It's been quite the year for you guys. Typically, it's other teams facing loads of adversity, but you faced loads of injuries, very, very low amount of people on the roster to the point where you had to kind of go and get some other players. Can you just talk about the resilience of your team kind of throughout this whole season and how you got to where you are?
Coaching interviews these days for a variety of reasons. This year's team has had to be really, mentally connected, very resilient. They've had to do a lot of things that aren't just your normal kind of day-to-day. One, when you have this many injuries, it's a little bit like a slight loss, with the team. You're just dealing with those tough emotions where all of a sudden you've got great friends, some of your best friends, people you thought you were going to be a senior with, all of a sudden not, competing anymore. And that's hard for not only the players, the team, but also their families and their friends. And so it's just a big emotional challenge that a lot of people have to go through, and we had a lot of them this year, unfortunately. And so you have to deal with the human side of that, and then you have to deal with the basketball side of that, where you try and figure out, okay, this is the team we have now. How do we maximize our talent that we have still? And so there's two things happening at the same time, and that resiliency that you speak of kind of shows up in both of those. Like, you have to be good with the human part of it, but you also have to be good with the basketball part of it. And these challenges have created some opportunities for us to really grow in ways that maybe we wouldn't have without the challenges. So we absolutely would rather be healthy. I want to make sure that's clear. But we've made the most out of a really tough situation. And I think a lot of credit goes to our players for that. They've been great about it. Tori Nelson, our senior, our leader, one of our captains, has been just a fantastic leader, so steady throughout this whole process. And then we've had a lot of new faces grow into really important roles. And all of those things take a certain level of resiliency and mental concentration to do. So, yeah, this has been a really, challenging year, I guess you would say. But I'm just really proud of how our team continues to grow and grow together and find ways to bring out the most of each other.
Absolutely. If someone was outside the league and didn't know about the injuries, they would look at the standings and say, same old SDSU. So it's absolutely phenomenal the way you've been able to kind of work through that. You talk about talent and new faces and new roles, and I want to give you a chance to talk about Brooklyn Meyer. She's really made a name for herself in the Player of the Year conversation, and she's a sophomore. So just how has she been able to show up on both ends of the court for you and kind of lead in terms of scoring and production for this team?
Yeah, this has been fun to watch Brooklyn grow into this kind of player, and not just from freshman year to sophomore year. We've really been recruiting and following Brooklyn since she was a freshman in high school, to be honest with you, whether it be coming to our camps or seeing her with her team. So we've gotten to know Brooklyn, I think, really well, her family well. And so seeing her have this kind of year is a reflection of a lot of years of hard work that she's put into it. And then last year, really growing and watching and learning from Peyton and Maya, two all-time great post player forward types here, and being a big part of that team, but not necessarily a starter quite yet and not necessarily having that role. And this year she's been placed in that role, earned that role. And as the year's gone on, she just has grown so much in her confidence and her certainty. And I think everything she's doing really well right now, we saw flashes of last year, and we saw some times early in this year. But the way she's playing right now, those flashes are a consistency. They're just showing up every possession. Defensively, she's fantastic. She can block shots. She can guard her players. She rebounds really well. Offensively, she is a fantastic passer. So when people double or try and help, she always finds open shooters. She can finish with her right hand, left hand. She can be on either block. She can play in the high post because she's such a good passer. She's just limitless in what she can do out there on the floor. And it takes time you might think you can do that, but it takes time to have enough success to really feel that way. And now she's had enough basketball where you can see, I think, that confidence has really grown in all parts of her game.
Absolutely. You mentioned passing. I think that's something that people don't talk about. They look at scoring, they look at blocks, rebounds, things like that. I see personally a little bit of Drew Gilton in her passing. I remember last year you told me that when Drew was on the court, you just have to run down it with your hands up because she's going to find you, even if you're not ready for it. So it's cool to see that kind of happening with Brooklyn as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think passing is a tough one, especially for post players, because they have people coming at them from different angles. Not everything is right in front of them. They're getting doubled. So I think you're spot on. I think her ability to find her teammates is not just good. I think it's exceptional.
Absolutely. Defensively, especially once we got into league play, there hasn't really been a lot of close games for you guys. It seems like you've kind of tended to stretch the lead in the second half on most occasions. So I want to give you a chance just to speak to your defense, maybe specifically Mesa Biome. She's someone I've kind of seen grow into a new role this season.
Yeah, for sure. I think our defense really starts with those two inside players, both Brooklyn and Mesa, who you mentioned. Both of those two can block a lot of shots. They rebound really well. They can switch ball screens when we want to do that, so they can guard some perimeter players. They can get out and guard forwards who shoot the ball in the three-point line. Just their ability to be so dominant, and Mesa's really come on in that regard too, helps everything else we do defensively. So I really think our defense really starts with those two, and not just their post defense, but what they are able to do everywhere, because it just gives us a lot of versatility. And then the perimeter, we've just really grown that way too. How we guard the ball, how we help each other, how we rotate, recover. Those things have been exceptional this year. But Mesa in particular inside has been outstanding. She does challenge a lot of shots. She gets a lot of rebounds, and she does it really efficiently. And Brooklyn does the same. So our defensive success this year, our defensive ability, is really built around those couple of post players being so talented and so versatile with what they do. It just allows everybody else on the perimeter to be really focused on guarding the ball, guarding the three-point line, and not having to do a lot more inside.
Absolutely. We really could talk about the whole roster, but we don't have time for that. So the last specific players that I want to highlight are Isabel and Tori Tollefson, the two players that you picked up. Can you just kind of walk us through that process and what that experience has been like for you and for them as well?
Yeah, well, Haley Timmer went down early this summer and kind of thought we could get through, and then Callie went down before the year, and then Hillary Barnes went down. And those were all basically before the year started. And now it's like, well, we've got to make some additions here. And our assistant coaches did a great job of a couple of things. One, just talking with other coaches here at SDSU. Are there any players out there who maybe have just gotten done or something like that, still students, who's enrolled right now that it's been around college athletics that may be able to help us. And then two, our assistants also started looking at all state basketball teams and people that have had success in high school, and then going back and matching that up to who came to SDSU, like who's an SDSU student but maybe didn't play college basketball. And so Isabel was found that way, and then TT was found as a current student athlete. So our assistants really recruited, I guess, and went out there and connected with both of them. And we talked to some other people too, and maybe just wasn't going to be a fit or the right fit. And both Isabel and TT had the right personality and the right thought going into this. And they've both helped us immensely, both in practice and in games. And I think they're getting a lot out of the experience. It's been fun for them and their families. It's been fun for our team, because not only are they here helping us, they bring their personality and their energy, and that's fun to have what they bring on that side of it too. So yeah, it was out of necessity, no question. We were going to have a hard time moving forward with practice, but both Isabel and TT have added a lot to our team, and I think they're having a lot of fun. We're having a good year with them, and we're having a good year because of how they've helped us.
Absolutely. I want to give you a chance to kind of shift gears just to talk about the league in general. Everybody knows I hate hearing the league is down or whatever other, excuses people want to throw out. I think even though there may be a gap in the games or whatever, and you guys are scoring a lot and winning a lot of games, I think the league is closer than we think it is, especially once we get into the 4, 5, and 6 spot. So what can you say just about our league in general and about the parity in basketball and kind of what you're seeing?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Our league is as strong right now on the women's side as it has been. The net ranking about a 16 right now. That's towards the top of where we've ever been in the net ranking out of 32-ish kind of conferences out there. So that's in a good position for us. I think the games are highly competitive. I think you've seen a little bit of separation maybe if you're just looking at numbers. I'm not here promoting, but I think SDSU the last couple of years has had really exceptional run, really a unique situation. Outside of that, I think you've seen a lot of competitiveness. We've got 4 teams right now that are all in the top 50 NC net ranking, which is unique and almost something we haven't had before. We don't have any teams in the 300s right now as of today. That's something we've had in the past. So in terms of the quality of our league, it is really good. When we talk about scoring margins and things and wanting, but they're not very good. There's a difference there in terms of like net rankings and how that all falls into the big picture of things. So I think we always, in my opinion, I always feel like we have to be careful about just wanting parity. As long as parity means everybody's really good, then that's great. But if you have some really good teams, North Dakota State right now is on a fantastic run. They are playing as well as any mid-major school out there right now. And their early season record doesn't reflect kind of the way they're playing right now, but they're really good, and they have the ability to play in a postseason event and do well there too. So, and you've had that with USD the last couple of years, and so I think our league is really good. It's in a good place. I don't think we want to have 8, 9, 10 teams that are all sandwiched together, unless, like I said, the net and everything else is up where it needs to be in that kind of 100. So I feel really good about it. I don't think that there's a lack of parity in our league at all. I think you have some traditional teams that are doing really well. I think our run of success kind of paints a picture that it's easy, and it just isn't. We're a top 50 NCAA net team. That's incredibly difficult to do, and we've been there for a long time, and I think we see some other teams in our league moving that way too. So we're in a good place. The league's in a good place, and I think everybody should feel like we're trending in a good direction. And the parity piece, that can really mean two different things depending on what parity is for you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. My last question for you, we're obviously approaching March. We've got 1 week left. Work is not quite done. You can secure the 1 seed with 1 win, but I'm sure you'd prefer to win both of your games this coming weekend. How are you? I mean, coming off of a close game at Denver, speaking of the rest of the league being good, that was a little bit of a scare. And then a good win at St. Thomas. How are you kind of staying grounded and staying focused on these 2 games that you've got before we move to Sioux Falls?
Yeah, well, we did for the first time ever, I think, in my career, talked about trying to be a little selfish and not share anything this week. We'd rather not share a conference title. We'd rather be a little selfish and keep that to ourselves. And that means we have to win some games. So it means we have to play well here this week. I think our team all year has been really good about staying focused on things that we can control and things that are productive, and not getting distracted by other things. How are other teams doing? What does this mean for conference rankings, seedings, postseason? It's just, how do we be good today? And we've had to take that approach because we've had to deal with a lot of things off the court and other things throughout the year. So I just think they've been really grounded and staying focused on how do we make this the best day we can? How do we do productive things? And so we're going to practice well this week. We're going to get ready for a big game on Thursday against North Dakota. Get ready for a big game on Saturday. Hopefully we can play well in both of those games. That's kind of our wrap up to the year, wrap up to Frost Arena for us. And then we'll shift gears and get ready for the tournament. But just staying really present in the moment. Focus on what we can do now, and this team has done that really well, not just this year, but for a long time, and that's been a big part of our success.
Absolutely. All right, listeners, that's Coach Johnston of SDSU women's basketball. Jacks are looking to lock in the 1 seed. They'll get 2 opportunities this weekend, hosting North Dakota tomorrow, and they'll say goodbye to Frost Arena on Saturday. It's a little bittersweet, but you got senior day and a blew out against number 2 North Dakota State, which is obviously a really big game. So we wish you the best for this last week, and kiss Frost Arena goodbye on a strong note, and we'll see you next week in Sioux Falls.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, dang. I was going to have to transition so smooth, and then I forgot to take that off the screen. Oh, it's fine. What up? So my internet quite literally went out at like 9:01 p.m. and I was like, I just finished watching the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion part 1, which I was streaming on Hulu, so I know the internet was working. And literally the minute it got over, I came in here to do this and it was just loading. I couldn't load anything. And I was like, this is not good. I thought we were going to have to cancel. And then at like 9:13.37897, it just like popped up. And I was like, okay, let's do it.
We're here. We're ready to rock. Last 2 games of regular season play. Let's go.
I know. Is that not wild to you?
It went by
You're
quick.
frozen.
February obviously always goes by quick, but man. Am I frozen still?
Yeah. Nope, you're back now. This is going to be rough.
Yeah, February goes by quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I saw this thing on TikTok where someone was talking about how people are out here like, wow, because okay, you know how people are making comparisons about like 2020 and 2024, like same 2 teams in the Super Bowl, like same like series of events type thing. Okay, so people are really out here being like, wow, like the last presidential election was on a leap year, and so is this one. And we're like, they all are.
They
all are. Like they went a little too hard into the like comparison conspiracy and forgot that they all are.
People believe anything these days.
They really do. We had a whole conversation about this in Com Theory yesterday about like media effects and if agenda setting is really still a thing, or like if people have agency, or like how media literate are people. Like I still get surprised when my students don't understand that Disney owns like everything. Like I'll pull up a map of like the 4 business or 4 corporations that own like most of our media, and students are like, what? And I'm like, yeah. It's like it's important.
I know that like a lot of people do this, but so I gave up Twitter, Instagram for Lent, Facebook a little bit, but I had some things going on where I needed to stay a little connected. So I like stopped. I don't scroll on Facebook, but it's amazing how being so disconnected, how much better my life feels. Like you make time for other things, right? Like reading, or I don't know, just doing literally anything else that you've been putting off, that you're like, oh, you know, maybe I will try this video game, or I will read more of this or do more of this. And like, I don't miss it. Like Twitter is such a toxic, and yes, it's great. It when used correctly, social media is great, but like it's so toxic still that you get warped into believing that you absolutely have to have it, and you don't. Anyways,
I don't disagree. No, oh my gosh, yeah, we were on. I can't tell you how many people in class yesterday were like, "Don't get me on this soapbox," and I was like my friend said, she was talking about media literacy, and she said, "Don't get me on that soapbox. I'm gonna get so angry." And I was like, "I'll happily get on the soapbox for you," and I did, because that's what I do. Anyway, time to get on our basketball soapbox, our Summit League soapbox. I think we're really delayed because your facial reactions are so delayed to what I'm saying. I don't know
got
if
about
it
a
looks
3-second
that way,
delay
like for the viewers or not, but it looks that way. Okay.
Do you just want me to smile like the whole time?
That's like when we're both watching a game at the same. Yeah. Yeah. Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. It's like when we're both watching a game at the same time, and it's like, don't text me what happened. Don't text me what happened. Because you're on a delay or whatever.
Yep.
All right.
I have to flip anytime like Notre Dame's playing in a close game, Vikings, Duke, USD. If for some reason we're not watching, I can't have my phone out. Nope.
Yep. I gotta flip over. All right. Let's talk Summit hoops. Listener, if you joined right at 9:15 or whatever time my internet decided to be of service and do its job, you got to see an interview that I did earlier today with Coach Johnston of South Dakota State. super fun. Always love chatting with him. Always love his insights. I also really appreciate that, like, when I say something, not everything I say makes sense, but when I like call something out and like make a connection, he literally like affirms me. He's like, yeah, you're spot on. And I'm like, if AJ says I'm spot on, I'm sitting pretty right now. Like, I'm living a good life. If AJ thinks I know what I'm talking about, like, that makes me so happy. But he's certainly fun to talk
Madison,
to.
I thought it was a great interview. I thought that I missed the first like 2 minutes of it, but I saw the rest of it. And I don't know if we'll get into it tonight, but he's 100% right. And what we've talked about and what you've talked about too is anyone that says the league's down, I mean, the stats just aren't there to prove that. The net ranking of the conference is up. Like, the league just beat up on each other, minus the we'll just refer to it. I got this from Tim Hill in our chat group, but like the XDSUs, like minus them, they're the top 2 teams in the league. Everyone else has kind of been beating each other up, and it's not because they're lesser talent, whatever. It's because they're good. Think league wide, they wish that maybe non-con would have been a little stronger, but we've talked about that before, where nobody wants to schedule the Summit League because, let's be honest, they're afraid of losing, and they don't want to make it work. So this year was kind of down with the non-con, a lot of D2 teams, NAIA teams on the schedules for teams, but talent wise, it's getting better each year, which is awesome to see. The net is high. The star power is high in the league when teams we thought would be there weren't, and teams that weren't, that we didn't think are there.
We didn't think. Yep. Yeah. And we're going to get into that tonight when we run down the standings here in a minute, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that when I tell you that Denver has a shot at the 5 seed, that's going to blow your mind, because you thought Denver was like 2 and whatever. And I mean, their record still really isn't that great, but they've been in a lot of close games. They almost beat SDSU last week. And when I brought that up, I saw AJ's face. I was like, yeah, that was a close call. And he was like, yep. like that's no secret that Denver has talent. And I honestly, I don't want to say I firmly believe, because anytime I say I firmly believe, I'm going to stand on my business. Jordan's gone. Are you back? You were gone for like 10 seconds.
I'm here. You keep freezing, but then the clock keeps running, so I don't know, like.
Yeah. I love this apartment internet. It's fantastic. Apologies to the viewers and listeners. Whoever listens to the audio version of this when it comes out tomorrow is just, I could honestly probably cut so much of just like, are you there? Am I frozen? Anyway, I don't want to say that I firmly believe, because anytime I stand up here on my business, I get like proven wrong, and I don't love that. So I'm going to say I almost firmly believe that Denver will get the 5 seed. Like, I really do think they have, what do they have to close out? They have St. Thomas. They have Omaha too. Omaha, St. Thomas,
Kansas
I think.
City.
Kansas City. Okay.
Kansas City. Yep.
Kansas City, St. Thomas to close out. Those are winnable games for Denver. Those are absolutely winnable games for Denver.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Madison. Like, you look at the standings, and I know we'll run through it, but like the 2 teams ahead of them, it's not guaranteed. You know, UND's got a tough one against USD, and then obviously, we'll go chronological: SDSU, then USD. St. Thomas has Omaha, and then Denver will pretty much be. I mean, at that point, St. Thomas and Denver could be for the 5 seed, which is huge. I mean, we were talking about Denver being one of the, just a few weeks ago, being in that bottom 2 as far as standings go. And you're the first one to be like, they're not that. They're not that.
They're not as low as it looks. Yep.
Yeah.
And if St. Thomas wins tomorrow, Denver will not get the 5 seed. They need St. Thomas to lose both, so that they can both sit at 8-8. And then in that case, Denver would have swept St. Thomas this season, and that would give them the 5 seed. So if St. Thomas wins tomorrow, they'll get the 5, and they will play USD in the first round, which game is not a guarantee for either team.
Yep. Is
That was
USD the
buzzer
only
beater the
like
first time.
lock in a seed? Like, are they pretty? Like, I know that. Are they the lock at the 4? Maybe Oral Roberts is a lock at the 3. Like, are those the only 2 that are locks technically? Well, SDSU, I guess, would be a lock at 1 no matter what. It's just a matter of if they split the regular season title, if they, for some reason, lose out.
Well, I don't know what no, yeah, you're right. They would be a lock at 1 no matter what, because even if they lose to NDSU on Saturday,
they have
the
tiebreaker over
they
Oral
have
Roberts.
the tiebreaker because it's over Oral Roberts. You're right. Yeah. So SDSU is locked. What's Oral Roberts' record? Hold on, I need to pull this up.
10-5.
I'm so scared to pull another tab up because I don't want the internet to.
Well, they're either going to finish 11-5 or 10-6. Yeah, they for sure are a lock for the 3 seed. Because they swept USD. Actually, they've won 3 in a row against USD because they eliminated the Yotes in the first round last year.
They did. So SDSU's locked at 1. They will play on Friday or on Saturday, excuse me, at I don't know, 12:30 or something. Let me pull up the bracket in a different tab. Here we go. SDSU's locked number 1. 3 p.m. Saturday, March 9th will be their game. They will take on, and we'll go over all of this again next week too. They will take on Kansas City or Omaha. I don't know if Kansas City is locked down there. They're not locked. Kansas City could technically
3-11.
But Denver's 4-10, and they play each other.
They could climb
so Kansas
as high as
City,
6, right?
They can climb as high as 6. This is bonkers, bro.
Jeepers creepers. It's the same on the men's side, too. Men's side might even be more crazy.
Yeah. So is Omaha's 2-13. They have.
And I'm here for the all 7 o'clock start time tomorrow.
Yes. Omaha has only St. Thomas left. So the best they can do is 3-13. So they're locked. Yeah. They're locked into the 8-9 game. Well, whether they're 8 or 9, we don't know yet, because if Kansas City ends up 3-13, we'd have to look at their head-to-head, and I don't know what that is. I haven't looked. But Omaha will be in the 8-9 game. We know that much. Oral Roberts is locked at 3. USD's locked at 4. So really 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are up for grabs.
That's
and 1. Or no. One not. Sorry, we said they were locked. Yeah. That's wild. 5 through 9. How do you think it's going to shake out? 5 through 9.
How do I think? 1, 2. Hold on here. I got the standing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 through 9.
Yep.
I don't. Well, screw it. It's the end of the year. I don't see UND winning this weekend. See them finishing 5-11. If I want chaos, I don't see St. Thomas winning, but I do think that they'll pick up a win in Omaha. So I don't know what I'm. Let's see here. Denver. I think they'll split. Kansas City's kind of a tough one to go to. So what's that put? 4-11, 4-11. I don't know who would have the tiebreaker, Kansas City or Denver. 4-11, 4-11. UND at 5-11. St. Thomas at 7-9, or 7-9. So I guess 5 through 9, I would have St. Thomas, UND. I don't know. Again, the tiebreaker, Denver, Kansas City, but both them at 4-11, and then Omaha at 2-15 or 2-14.
So if you don't think North Dakota is going to win, you think Denver is going to split. That puts them Oh,
5 and
I
11,
see.
or excuse, yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
What did I say? Yeah, 5 and
But
11.
they split this season. So
then
I don't know what the next tiebreaker would be over them.
if
We
I
can get into
remember,
that
and I'm
in the
probably wrong on this, but I believe it's the head-to-head on the next team down. So it would be Kansas
but
City.
we don't know what the next team down is until the end of the weekend.
Woof.
Yeah. So I'm going to go my 5 through 9. My 5 through 9 is Denver, St. Thomas, What's the Kansas City, North Dakota station? Let's see. At North Dakota, Kansas City lost 1-1. See, so like if I'm gonna go Denver, St. Thomas, and then if Kansas City and North Dakota were to tie, I don't know what that tiebreaker would be.
I feel like it's the next team down, but when you get the bottom, what do you work your way up then? Like, I don't.
No, it is the next team down, but we don't know what the next team down is going to be till the end of the weekend because the record could change.
Oh, that's
or will change. I mean, the standings could change. Yeah, I don't know. This is bonkers.
This is nothing.
It's pretty insane. That's fantastic. I absolutely love that. Let's look at the upcoming schedule and just have a little chit chat.
Yeah.
So, SDSU hosts UND at 7. I think we know which way that's going to go. Anything could happen, but I expect SDSU to handle their business tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
No disagreement. Okay, let's move on.
No disagreement.
USD at North Dakota State. I think USD is very capable of beating NDSU, but the way NDSU has been playing, they're on an absolute tear right now. You heard AJ say they're playing just as good as any major team out there right now. And at home, I think they're probably also going to handle their business tomorrow.
Yeah, tough team, but Yotes by 8.
Okay.
We're going to turn it up. And 100% this is bias.
Right.
But I also think that I just think talent-wise they're there. It's just they're so inconsistent. Oh my God. Where were we Saturday? I think we were in Vermilion all day Saturday, so I missed the Yotes game on that day. But we got back and I saw that they lost to Oral Roberts again. I literally said, what the hell? Like, it's not that they lost, it's how they lost. And it's not taking away anything from Oral Roberts, but it's like, again, I jinxed them back in like the second week of the Summit League saying they're head and shoulders above everyone else. And ever since then, they have been one of the most inconsistent teams in the entire league as far as we don't know which USD you're going to get. The talent's there to compete, but like, are we going to get the one that turns it over a lot and shoots like crap? Or are we going to get the one that scores 85, 90 points and gets a lot of bench contributions? I don't know. So
yeah,
my head says
North
Dakota State's tough at home, but my heart really wants to go with USD. And if they win that one, I mean, it's March is even more mad.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that it's easy for me to say, like, as a Jackrabbit fan, but I really do think that USD, post all of the injuries last year, for new faces this year, and also Kayla having to step away like at the end of the season, I think they really just needed this year to. I do think they gel well. We've seen when they play well, like what they can do. So I hope that they go no matter what happens.
Oh, sorry, Madison. I hope that it's not leaking into the locker room like what I've heard a lot within the USD fan base with the women's team is let's just get through the year. Let's get one win in the Summit League tournament because we're going to be stacked next year. We got a lot of shooters coming in. Like, I don't like the look ahead. Let's just get this one over with. Let's get a win. Let's not lose again in the first round.
Right.
That's how a lot of fans are feeling right now. And I hope that's not seeping into the locker room, because for those seniors or the transfers that came in for a year like Tori, like, I don't want that for them. And I know that's not the mentality they have, but there's this growing, that's kind of the feeling in the USD fan base is like, all right, it's the XDSU's years. Let's just let them take it. Let's get a win in the Summit League, and we'll be back next year. But you can't think like that in the new era of college basketball, college sports, really, with the transfer portal, because you have no idea what's going on inside the locker room. You have no idea of these teams, like, who's going to be leaving because they think there's a better opportunity, which, as we know, 3/4 of the time is not the case. The grass is not greener on the other side. So I hope that's not the mentality that they're taking. But it's, the fan base of USD, there's a lot of talk with that. Like, oh, they'll be fine. We'll watch them. Let's just get one win in the Summer League tournament, and we'll see what happens. But we'll be back next year.
I mean, it's certainly going to be interesting, and I don't think that it would ever be their mentality. Like, when I talked to I said, last year was injury laden, things that happened. This year certainly has been as planned, and you played that expect a crap ton out of you. And she was like, we like very just like, we want them to expect a lot out of us. So I don't think that ever would be their here you're coming from. St. Thomas, Omaha. I don't know.
That's a tough one.
What happened the last time they played? Let's figure that out.
St. Thomas, Omaha.
My tab isn't loading quickly, so if you're before
St. Thomas won by 5 up in the cities. So
okay,
really close game, 88-83.
I think that despite like not necessarily being filled, like Ross Arena, still a tough place to play. We've seen some games this season. I think I don't know.
I'm gonna lean Omaha.
I don't know.
I'm gonna lean Omaha on this one.
I think I am too. I think it's gonna be close. I'm gonna say 6.
I'm going to say 79. Oh, yeah, 6. I'm going to say 79-77, Omaha.
Okay.
Book it.
Book it. Denver, Kansas City. This is another one I really just don't know what to do with. I'm Denver biased. People know that. I also have been Kansas City biased in the past too. There are special people to me in both places, both in basketball and out of basketball, as far as my family and friends. So I don't know. I'm gonna lean Denver. I think Kansas City is pretty decent at home, but I'm gonna lean Denver because of what they showed me against South Dakota State last week. If that Denver shows up, Kansas City's a goner.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean. Normally, I like to lean with Kansas City at home, but I just think matchup wise, and this time of year, and what's at stake with seeding and stuff, I think Denver's on a solid tear right now, and they're playing their best basketball. So a huge road win, obviously, for Denver, and especially if Omaha wins. 2 games to keep an eye on if you're into the standing stuff. If we had multi-screen views on Summit League Network, but not quite yet.
Come on, Minto, give us the quad box.
I'll lean Denver in this matchup.
going to and remains are always a tad tougher because we don't know yet what happens. We start with St. Thomas, Denver. Oh, look at the all 2 p.m. on Saturday.
For God's sake. You gotta be kidding.
Okay. I love the Summit League. They just granted our media credential, so I'm not going to talk too much trash. The last day of the season, when these games really freaking matter, you're going to have them all start at 2:00. Are you joking?
This isn't the NFL where you all start at 12. Like, this is college basketball. Like, we need to be. This needs to be 12. Like, why is Denver starting at 2? Okay, so you got Kansas City. That could start at 11. Brookings, Vermilion, those could honestly both start at 1. Like, who cares? So, like, why couldn't you have noon, 1, and then Denver start at 2, which is 1 o'clock their time?
Mm-hmm.
Stagger
or
it.
even 12, 1, 2, 2 or whatever. Like, that would be fine with me.
Yes.
It's annoying. Okay, so St. Thomas at Denver, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain. I mean, I said I was going to stand on my business. Denver's going to get the 5 seed. Denver beats St. Thomas. And at home, I think they will.
So the Tommies have lost 5 in a row if we go by our predictions for Thursday or tomorrow, Thursday. Mine, anyways, would have them losing 6 in a row. Eek. I want to see Denver in the 5 seed. I think it's a great story for them, but I'll lean the Tommies in this one in a good road win to screw up all the chaos.
I'm gonna be so sad if that's what happens, but like also happy. It's so weird because I used to be so like, I don't know. I think that like talking to coaches, talking to players, being at tournaments, even going at game, like I have been to Kansas City a couple of times for basketball and volleyball. Gone postseason with volleyball and basketball, like just being kind of in the environment, getting to know the coaches a little bit and hearing their insight, whether it's basketball related or, you know, just like life stuff that we talk about. I think it's changed my perspective on like, of course I'm still Jackrabbits for life, but low key last week, like when Denver almost had it, I was like kind of rooting for Denver a little bit. Like I want to see that happen. I've kind of become like, I don't know. I just want everyone to beat up on each other. I want everyone to be good.
Well, because you know it's good for the league, right? Like SDSU losing a game at the end of the regular season, yeah, it throws a hiccup in like the outright championship, but like it's good for the league for it to happen, which is, like you said in the interview, or like what AJ said in the interview, is a testament to the run they've had the last couple of years and how hard that actually is to do.
Yeah, for sure. NDSU, SDSU. This is also a tough one. Last time it was obviously really close. I don't know, the way SDSU played at Denver last week, which wasn't bad, by the way. Sure, they let Denver back into the game a couple times, but as much as they let Denver back into the game, Denver fought their way back into. So I don't really think that was a case of like Denver had a really good day, SDSU had a really bad day. Like I don't think that's what happened. So I think it's going to be close. I'm going to lean SDSU, but I do think it's going to be close. Then again, we're saying goodbye to Frost Arena. It's senior day. The fans might really give SDSU the push they need, and it might not be close. So I don't know, but I think it'll probably
all 3,100 of them. Just kidding.
I have a finger for you, but I'm not going to show you on camera.
Also, let's make it politically correct. It's the last regular season game in Frost Arena because you never know what could happen in the Denny.
Fair. I'll take that.
I'll lean SDSU. Right, I know. I'll make up for it. I'll lean NDSU. I'll lean SDSU in this one. I think they just match up better. however, if he goes chalk in Sioux Falls, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times. And I do think that NDSU would put up a fight, but I think but if SDSU loses on Thursday, NDSU's got a little extra motivation there too. But no, I'll lead SDSU to close out the season with a dub and finish undefeated regular season.
Well, I'll tell you, I know that you like hot takes, made some at the beginning of the season. I have a hot take that I told somebody last night. I said, I don't think the 2 seed is going to make it to the Summit League championship game in Sioux Falls. I didn't say who. I just said I don't think the 2 seed's going to make it. I think that not that they'll lose first round, but I think whoever they match up with first or second round is going to take them out.
Okay.
That's my hot take. Book it.
I like it. I can't wait for next week's episode where we actually do the hot takes.
I know. Oh my gosh. We might have so many and we might have like none, because what is a hot take at this point? Like, look at the standings. Literally, what is a hot take? Yeah.
5, 6, 7, and 9 win on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, that won't happen. All right, last game, UND at USD, also 2 p.m. I'm going USD, especially at home. But I just think North Dakota is disjointed, disconnected. I hope that, for Casey's sake, I hope that they and she finish the season strong. But I don't see it. I think it's going to be USD.
Yeah, I think just matchup wise, I would lean USD in this. But again, which team are we going to get? They've lost some games at home that they should have won. One thing I'll say about UND, that if they go 0-2 this weekend, hell, even if they go 1-1, a team that does not have a target on their back is a very dangerous team, especially with one that has weapons like UND does. So I think you're right. If they come in as the 6 or 7 seed, that's not a team I want to be playing if I'm the 2 or 3 seed. Like that's a very winnable game, an upset alert. Because in no way, shape, or form. And again, we don't know what's going on in the locker room. Maybe they're kind of done. Maybe they're checked out. I highly doubt that. But they're a team that talent-wise, with a target not on their back, I would be scared to play against in Sioux Falls.
I think so. Okay. Sorry, this is kind of going on a tangent. And this is also assuming Denver ends up where I think they're going to end up. But we have the 3-6 game, right? If Denver doesn't get the 5 seed and sits in the 6th spot, ORU should be scared.
For sure.
Based on what happened last time. And that certainly wasn't ORU's best performance, and they know that. And Kelsey and I talked about that on the show, but A, based on that, and B, Denver is so ready to stand on their business. Like, they have been slowly battling and slowly turning it around. There was those 2 close games with USD and somebody else. It was like that 78-70 game in Vermillion. And then the other game they lost either right before or right after that. And then after that was when they absolutely annihilated Oral Roberts and had a couple of games where they won. So I think if Denver doesn't win out the weekend or somehow ends up in the 6th seed, I still think that is a team that I would not want to face.
Yeah, I mean, and history shows it too. We've had upsets in the tournament and those lower seeded teams. That's just, they lost close games in the regular season. That's how they got that seeding. But in no way, shape, or form was it indicative of the style and the competitiveness of that team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it next weekend yet?
I know. I'm so excited. We have to keep it short because we do have another interview to get to. So any parting thoughts for you, Jordan?
No, last week, and if your team's got a home game, go support the student athletes. Otherwise, can't wait to talk Summit League tournament next week.
I'm excited. I will see you then.
See you, Maddie.
Welcome back to Reaching the Summit. We are joined today by our final guest of the season and very good friend of mine, head coach of Denver women's basketball, Doshia Woods. Coach, thank you for tolerating my BS again this season. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you for the invite. I was like seeing all the others pop and I had to text you like, am I going to be on this year? I mean, I know it's been an up and down year, but I know you didn't forget about me and you were like, nope. So glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, absolutely. I would never forget. I feel like you were first last year, so I had to like do some adjusting, and try to move it around.
That's fair. That's fair.
Thank you. I want to start with just like a general overview of your season up to this point. If someone were to look at, the wins-loss column, the record book, the box scores, they would probably overlook your team. But I don't do that. And a lot of the games in the non-con especially were 3 points, 5 points, even the 9 and 10s were, some free throws here and there at the end of the game. And we'll get to kind of the turnaround in the season, but can you walk me through up to like late January, right before you went to Vermilion, kind of right before you started to turn it around a little bit? What was that chunk of the season like? What was the mindset? How did you keep everyone battling? All that good stuff.
Good question. I think, obviously in this profession, it's easy to just check and look at our record and be like, oh, they've only won, X amount of games. And honestly, we've really developed like a 1-0 mentality. So I think we're like, 7 and something. But, if you look at our team and you're actually paying attention to the games, we've had so many single digit games. And this is part of, we can teach a lot, right? Very confident in our ability to score the ball and make adjustments and get stops. We can't teach experience. So a lot of the games that we lost were basically led by 3 sophomores. Anything that you would ask a team to do, right? We're asking them to do. Lead us in scoring, lead us in assists, lead us in, rebounding, be leaders, because our leadership team consisted of 3 sophomores. So I honestly have been super encouraged just by the way that we've been able to stake claims. Of course, a couple lopsided games in there for sure, but for the most part, we really have been competitive until about the 35-minute mark, 36-minute mark. During the stretch when we were on our little skid, if you follow, I'm just positive person. It's how I operate, and I had to learn that basketball doesn't define me, the record doesn't define me. But for our team, it was difficult, right? It is like some of them, this is the hardest thing that they've done, and that's when we really try to lean into the 1-0 mentality. And if we had a game goal for that game, despite losing it, let's say we wanted to have more assists and turnovers, it's something we highlighted and talked about. I really challenged my staff, and they did a phenomenal job throughout that streak of just everybody, spirits up and things like that. And then I text the team just kind of a mental health check and, just how are you? And the last part of the question I added during the streak was, how do you need me to show up for you? How do you need to heck for you? What does that look like? And, fortunately, just a lot of them were like, just stay positive, and got some nice messages back. So, I know you can look at it and kind of get, bogged down by your record, and it can consume some people, but it's constant reminding the team of what we're capable of, and the record doesn't define us. And I refuse to let our team kind of get sucked into that mentality. It was an easy time. Basketball is a game of adversity, and I think adversity reveals a lot of character, and I think that's what you've seen from our team down the stretch.
Absolutely. Well, in that late January, I think it was, who did you play? USD and somebody else. No, I can't. USD and Omaha. They had an 8-point loss at USD that arguably could have gone the other way. and a 3-point loss at Omaha definitely could have gone the other way. And for me, in my opinion, that's where I kind of started to see, like, okay, this is the Denver we know. And what do you remember from those games? What was your point of emphasis? What did you see that kind of changed and started to shift for your team?
I think we really we switched up how we were watching film, just kind of how we would prepare. And I'm really, big on their feedback, kind of what they see and what they have to say. So we started watching games kind of in stretches. Typically, if the scout coach had that game, then she was responsible for kind of the recap, right? When we watched it on Mondays, but we started watching either 5-minute of the third quarter or the 5-minute of the fourth quarter, just picking out and really hearing what they have to say, talking us through different decisions or why they did certain things and look at the game different. So again, though we were on the short end of that, I think both of those games, a couple shots fall, a couple plays. Basketball is a game of possessions and game of mistakes, and it's always our goal to make less mistakes than the other team and to capitalize on theirs. But I like the way that our team just kind of responded. Again, it didn't show up in terms of wins and losses, but I thought we got much better just in terms of our offensive efficiency. I'm really trying to be much better in terms of our defensive assignments and adjustments that we've been able to make in games. And again, came up short in both of those games, especially the Omaha game. But I think when you watch our team, you can see that we're still together, and it's just like, damn, another close one, damn, another close one. But for me, it really trying to keep their spirits up, because when we're a scary team to play, because it's like, are we ever going to go away? Right? We were down 22 going into the fourth quarter at North Dakota and cut it, I think, to 6 at one point. So we just, our core values is both progress and an acronym, and that's how our team consistently plays. And as long as I continue to see that resilience in the game, I never feel like we're out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to talk about the turnaround. We have to talk about getting back into the win column. Started with a win over Kansas City and continued into a nice little 3-piece suit over the top the top offense in the league in Earl Roberts. That was unexpected. For a lot of people. And not me, child. You know that. Come on now. You know that out of all people. Look, I am constantly telling people. Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm a realist, right? We hit an 8-game skid, right? And so when we kind of turned around and started winning some games, I'm sure everybody was shocked, to just see us win a game. But I think the reality of is when you're asking young kids to do so much for you, part of what you're going to get is just this up and down, and them just having to learn. They're literally in the fire learning. But it was nice, the UMKC game at home, slightly different style of play, but we've had, different people step up. Obviously, Jones has led us all of conference, and I've been really happy of just her progress, because the Summer League really didn't get to see her play. She got hurt last year at UMKC, actually, and then spent most of the conference completely out or really trying to get back healthy. So I know she might be surprising a lot of people in Summit League, but no surprise to us who have a chance to coach every day. And then obviously Emma's been a staple, but it was nice to kind of get one under our belt. And then going into the Oral Roberts game, Oral Roberts forces you to play fast, period. I don't care how you want to play. I don't care what your intentions are going into the game. You better be ready to keep up, because she does a phenomenal job of just really forcing you to play fast-paced game. They do a great job of sharing the ball, moving the ball, and taking quick shots. And we knew we had to match their energy just in terms of being able to score the ball. Now, it worked in our favor, because if you know us, if you're going to shoot, it's going to be threes all day. So we trade threes for twos, and I think that's what happened that game. But it was nice to, get a win like that. And not only that win, but even at St. Thomas, is to kind of win those schools that have been at top kind of this year. And I think was a reminder to our players that we really can't compete when we're clicking the way that we need to be clicking. So we'll continue to kind of build on that. But Oral Roberts forces you to play. I don't care what it is. You better be ready to play fast, and you better, not forget your shoes and not forget the basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. I walked up out of that game. You mentioned kind of some different people stepping up. Mary Wilson, who I joked with you about earlier, I thought graduated or something. I didn't know she was still here. And I think she dropped like 6 triples or something. And I was like, excuse me, like, where have you been? So it was pretty cool to see that for sure. And honestly, that I think 102-92 could have even been bigger, or you kind of worked their way back into it. So definitely congrats on that. That was a huge win. And I think really some momentum. I want to talk about Michaela Manette, reigning Summit League Defensive Player of the Year. At one point, she was like averaging a double-double, pretty close to it. It's kind of insane just how many boards she's able to pull down, how many buckets she's able to put in, and what she does for the team. So talk to me just a little bit about her leadership and her effort on the floor.
Well, I don't know if you can see my hair, but if there's probably about 10, 15 gray hairs right now, she's responsible for all of them. She's responsible for every single one of them. Kay has been one that, again, I think, sometimes people are just a fit for each other. And I think the way that our style, my style in terms of coaching her, not necessarily our style of play, it's our style of play is an adjustment for her. But just in terms of coaching her, she's been one that since transferring here, we've had our battles up and down and really tried to be patient with her and give her a lot of grace. Everybody, as I tell our players, we all come through the locker room in different ways. We all take different paths, and she's one that really has allowed us to kind of coach her in different ways and challenge her in different ways. And it was a slow start to her grad student campaign this year. But I think once we got in conference play, one thing that she does is defend and rebound. And we know that she is, a force for us inside when she's able to, if she's not blocking shots, altering shots, and does a great job of finishing plays, especially when she's kind of in that zone. So she's been a nice piece, and obviously we'll have to replace, especially a lot of the rebounding once she's gone. But it's been nice to have her with some experience, not only overall, but within our program and understanding just how she can be effective. And I think that's part of the reason why you've seen a turnaround for her in conference play as well, is just being familiar with opponents, understanding the opponent or the opponent why, because you've been in a league. But it's definitely been I've grown a lot of ways in coaching her, and I think what's been fun about it is just when she does have big games, and she's probably the best in terms of a forward that can rebound and move that size, I think, in our league. So she's really effective for us, and we have a couple weeks left, and as I told her, let's just make the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. As we sit right now, you're coming off of a game where you were egregiously close to knocking off the top team in the conference. I do mean very close. And you have two teams in front of you that you've previously beaten, but you certainly don't want to overlook. And I don't know if people realize this, but I realize this because I like implications. You actually have a shot at the 5 seed. I don't think that people know that. And I don't know if you know that, and I don't know if you want to know that, but now you know it. If things work out the way they do, you have a shot at the 5 seed. So what are you focused on kind of heading into this final weekend of conference play and into Sioux Falls next week?
Well, we know that. We actually talked about it today as a staff. Coach Dubs is definitely the one that will, the analytic one on the staff, and will crunch, numbers every which way to Sunday. So we are aware. And as I told the team, what's nice about this is we have full control over, it's not, we're not in a position to wait for somebody else to do something. We just need to handle what we know we can handle. And that's kind of been our message all week. Obviously, playing at UMKC on the road on Thursday, and then coming home for St. Thomas. So you don't want to overlook anybody. You have maybe a little confidence because of how the first game went. But I think if we've learned anything about Summer League play, you have to show up ready to play that day in front of you, where your feet are that day. What you did yesterday is going to be irrelevant, and we can't think about tomorrow. So it's something that we've talked about as a team, but we will continue with our same mantra, just being 1-0. Shout out Coach Tang at K-State on the men's side. I definitely stole that from him. And just like, it's been a way to just kind of keep us focused, not even talking about our overall record, but what is it that right now in this moment we need to do. And we will adjust, do that for Thursday and make whatever necessary adjustments on Saturday, and take that same approach going into the conference tournament.
Absolutely. I love to hear it. All right. That's Doshia Woods with DU basketball. The Pios will play at KC tomorrow at 7 Central, and home for the final game of the regular season against the Tommies on Saturday at 4 Central, 3 Mountain, I believe. I've been working on my time zones.
Yes, great job.
You can catch them all. Thank you.
A little off on Saturday's game, just because it is lacrosse season. So we have a lot going on at DU. So obviously you can start with lacrosse in the morning, and then you can come out to our game and have a full day DU athletics.
There you go. Support all DU athletics. It's hard for me because I'm in the Eastern time zone now. I have been. This is my 3rd year in the Eastern time zone, but still, I grew up in Central. So I'm used to 1 hour, but when I talk to you, it's 2 hours. And so I
Yes.
have to awesome. You can catch both those games on the Summit League Network and Midcoast Sports. Coach, thanks again for being here, and we'll see you in a little over a week.
Yes, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.